climate change, such an insurmountable problem. Do you think we can save the planet? Do you think we can take action? Who is we? What action would we take? It's such a big problem. Tell you what, let's do a thought experiment. Let's try to unpack this thing and see where we get. Imagine I have a time machine. I'm going to use that time machine to pop you back into time about 100 years ago. You're going to find yourself on the deck of the Titanic, and that ship has already left port. Can you save the Titanic? What's your first impulse? You would be normal if your first impulse was to run and get a lifeboat and get off that ship. That would be normal because you know what's going to happen. You know the chances aren't good of survival on that ship, and you might want to get off it. And there's a lot of people right now, that's the way they're thinking about climate change and resource depletion. They want to find a safe little hidey hole somewhere and just survive. So let's say, think really hard, what could you do to save that ship? It turns out, because you have perfect knowledge, that you know that the communications operators, the guys at the telegraph, there's 2 guys there, and you know that they have gotten messages all day about the fact that there's huge icebergs in the way. You know that they relay all those messages to the bridge, but you also know that the last message, the one that pinpointed the location of that iceberg that the Titanic hit, was right in their path. You know that they did not relay that message. Why not? Because they were so busy, because they had the most powerful telegraph machine ever. They were really busy sending messages of the first-class passengers to their friends in New York. All right, let's go find those guys. Let's find the communications operators and let's tell them you've got to send that last message. That will save this ship. The ship's at risk. Number one, where are those guys on this ship? Who knows? It's kind of like the scientists. We know they're sending out these warnings that we have to do something, and yet who are they? Where are they? How can they improve their message? How can they make sure their message is heard? That's kind of a bit of a problem. Let's go talk to the navigators because they have charted the course. They are fulfilling the desires of the people on board and of the owners and of the shipping company. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Let's talk to them about changing the course. Changing a little bit to the south so they don't hit that iceberg. And what about slowing down so that the risks aren't quite as big? Let's go talk to them. And kind of like the economists in our day, they've got a curve. It shows where we're going and they believe it. And you know what? They aren't worried about anything because they know we're on an unsinkable ship. And also, it's not their job to decide where we're going. That's the captain's job. Well, okay, let's go find the captain. One person's word, one action by the leader of the ship, and we could save the ship. Kind of like the politicians in our day, right? All right, so we find the captain, and we explain to him about the risks, that there's really big icebergs this time. You gotta slow down the ship, you gotta change course. And the captain says, look, the owners of the ship, the investors, the first-class passengers, we have a lot at stake here. We've got to make the fastest crossing of the Atlantic. That's how we're keeping our competitive position in this new market of immigrants to America. Yeah, but there's risks of the whole ship going down. Look, I believe in the technology. The designer of the ship, I just had dinner with them. I've hit icebergs before. Look, we can't change course now. That sounds about right, doesn't it? Okay, this isn't going too well. Who can we talk to? Who can we convince that would have enough power to do something? All right, first-class passengers, they're going to get wet and cold. They're not going to like it. Let's convince them. Again, we're having a hard time getting into their part of the ship. We finally catch a guy. Look, there's a risk. The ship's going too fast. You got to slow it down. Look, I've paid for first-class passage. I'm going to be okay. And in an unsinkable ship. I'm going back to the party. All right, our experiment isn't going that well so far. What are we going to do? We're actually kind of running out of time here. I know, let's go below decks. Let's find the third class passengers, because you know what? 70% plus of them are going to die. They are at the most risk here. Let's go find them. We could tell them, look, you got to come up on deck. You've got to hold signs. You've got to protest. You've got to call for action. Slow down the boat. We are at risk. And you know what? Most of them are like, nah, it's late. I'm going to bed. There's a few, though. There's a few who say, yeah, let's go take action. And they go charging up. But you know what? You forgot that they actually closed the gates between the upper decks and the lower decks at 10 o'clock. And now we're too late. We can't get back up there. Okay, occupying the bridge isn't going to work. Convincing people of the risks isn't going to work. Getting to the people in charge isn't going to work. What are we going to do? You know what? You know something else about that ship. You know what makes it go. Down in the bottom of this ship, there are 52 guys called firemen, and they are shoveling coal as fast as they possibly can into the boilers of that ship. That's what's making it go. Down we go. Let's go down there, because all except one of them are going to die, and we got to convince them to slow down the ship. How would they do it? Stop shoveling so fast. It's kind of obvious. We get down there. All right, guys, here's the deal. This ship is going to crash into an iceberg. It's going to go down. You're all going to die. And they're like, we're just following orders. And you know, this is an unsinkable ship. New design, all that. Tell you what, do you guys really believe in an unsinkable ship? You're practical guys. You know how things work. You know how things are oversold to the passengers and to the investors. Do you really think you're in an unsinkable ship? Well, being engineers, I'll bet you they would say, nah, I don't believe it. All right, how can we get them to slow down? How can we get them to stop putting so much coal into the boilers? Because they're worried about their jobs. They're worried about how it'll look if we get to New York and we haven't made the fastest passage ever. Because of them, they could be in trouble. We'll get to New York. That's a big difference. And I'll tell you what, we are so out of time right now that they are going to be able to see that iceberg as they just make it around it. So I tell you what, can you do it, guys? Can you slow down how fast you're shoveling? I think that's our best bet, actually, for saving the Titanic and for saving ourselves. This little story, I hope, lets you see how simple it is to save the planet, and yet how difficult. Part of the difficulty is because we're chasing down things that they haven't been working and they're not going to work. The other difficulty is the people who can do it really aren't quite there yet in understanding their role. That's transition engineering, making that change to slow down and change course so we all make it okay.